I've finally figured out why people hate themselves, and it's probably not what you think. There are 5 main reasons why people hate themselves and 5 ways to stop it immediately and reclaim your life. How many times have you muttered to yourself, I just hate it when I do that. I just hate myself. Maybe you say it aloud, maybe you say it over and over in your head, I hate myself, and you can't stop. I hear it in my office all the time, and it's really, really painful. Today we need to talk about the raw and honest truth about self-hate and self-loathing and how to manage and correct this. There's a major reason why we develop self-hatred, and we may not even be conscious of it, but this arises from an internalized negative experience. And chances are they happen in childhood. It could be suffering. I suffered so much because I'm a bad kid. I never get enough to eat because I'm bad. I always get punished because I'm bad. Therefore, I hate myself. It is an internalized sense of criticism. And this can come from neglect. This can come from abandonment. This can come from the bad things that happen out there in life. But the thing is, we internalize the experience and make it ours. We're unable to separate the experience from ourselves. So while the experience or the person was bad to us, we can't see that. We become bad. And that goes over and over and over again through the years into adult, adolescent development and becomes this script. Internalized conflict, internalized experiences, internalized criticism. That's a source of major self-hate. Number 2, now this is kind of difficult because it's innate in human nature to compare ourselves to other people. It's just there, like we're going to compare our children. Are they eating the same amount of food? Are they sleeping the same amount? Are they learning the same way? I mean, that's something that's biologically wired because we are tribal group animals at the heart at the end of the day. So we're going to compare ourselves, and there's also this tendency for human beings and primates to form social hierarchies. So you're going to say, oh, well, that leader or that well-nourished person has X, Y, and Z. Do I? I need to get X, Y, and Z in order to compete. So the social hierarchy is really a big part of who we are. And I think it's difficult to contend with the fact that some people have more and some people do more with what they've got. Where does that come from? I don't know. That's a whole nother philosophical and biological podcast. However, it does exist. And if we ignore a social hierarchy, then we're not doing service to ourselves. So where do I stand in this hierarchy? What can I do with the chances I have and the resources I have? It's not helpful to hate myself. It's not going to help me make the most of my abilities. So the comparison to others is another major source of self-hate, and it's gone into hyper overdrive via social media because it really exploits this thing in us human primates to look and to compare and to size us up against other people, whether it's a real or imaginary presentation. You know, what is real? Try to understand the comparisons to other people, and that, you know, it can help you devolve your self-hate. Number 3, perfectionism. Voltaire, a famous French philosopher, said, perfection is an enemy of the good. And it really, really is. If we set ourselves up for enormously high standards, if we set ourselves up constantly to measure against photographic images on social media or in magazines or in movies, like that should be our life, it's going to be really difficult. In fact, it can be difficult to get up in the morning if you can't look like, I don't know, a Bollywood, Hollywood star. If you can't achieve hyper amounts of work like a tech Silicon Valley giant, or if you struggle with just being yourself, perfect who you are. I mean, that's just an unknown concept because perfection is sold to us. Perfection is this westernized ideal that people strive for, that people compete for, and there's a huge market for it. So be aware that perfectionism is driving all of us to hate ourselves. Perfection is the enemy of the good. Number 4, mental health issues really can create a lot of self-hate. One of the things is that people blame themselves for having disorders, disorders of their amygdala or chemical neurobiological disorders that were inherited or caused by tremendous stressors in their environment. Things that affect the biology of our brain and our nervous system and our gut that really affects us physiologically. So many times there's no way to will oneself out of a clinical depression or a panic disorder. Sometimes we need medical intervention. And the best way to deal with this kind of self-hatred is to look at and learn about various mental health and mental illness options. Self-hatred for having a mental disorder at a current moment in time is so destructive and so painful. The last reason that's really big for self-hatred, really going to make you hate yourself, is a lack of self-compassion. For some reason, for some judgmental, moralistic reasons along the millennia, it's become this fundamental idea that caring for yourself, putting your needs first many times, thinking about your well-being is selfish and indulgent and leads to a weak and lazy society, a weak and lazy personality. So we treat ourselves really tough, like pull up your boots. Who do you think you are? You can't complete your homework in 30 minutes. You suck. You're a loser. You need to do it quicker. That kind of self-hatred talk begins. Instead of a thought like, well, I really need to prioritize my sleep. It helps me to study better, helps me to focus better. I need to eat because when I eat, I treat people better instead of neglecting that basic need to eat and sleep in order to produce, in order to be perfect, in order to drive oneself to be effective in some way. That effectiveness is fueled by hate. That effectiveness does not last in the long run. Self-compassion is really lacking when we start telling, I hate myself. I just hate myself. Where's the compassion in that? A lack of self-compassion by this time should be obvious that it manifests in self-hate, self-hating behaviors, and self-hating talk. 5 powerful ways to combat your self-hate right now. Number 1, deal with your inner chatter. Learn about your inner voice. Your inner voice is the part of you that says, don't do this, do this. If you do this, you'll be good. If you do this, you'll be bad. Deal with the chatter. Start to learn to talk to yourself really well. Like, hey, you tried really hard. I appreciate that. Let's try again. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes things do. It's not your fault. We can do better next time. Instead of, you stupid thing, who do you think you are? You'll never get it right. See the difference? How we talk to ourselves is so crucial because at the end of the day, we wake up to our inner voice and we go to sleep to our inner voice. It is with us as our constant companion. Our inner voice is needed to give context to our life, our narrative, and who we are. And when we can talk kinder to ourselves, our existence becomes that much sweeter and less painful. So examine your inner chatter. Number 2, identify with your negative thoughts and your negative behaviors. Thoughts bubble up like randomly, like thoughts about, I didn't smile at my friend today, they're going to hate me. Or I didn't send a text back in a timely manner, they're going to think I'm rude and bad. Or negative behaviors like, I don't know, cutting someone off in traffic. It happens. It's a bad behavior. We are flawed. We are not perfect, but we can be good and we can be better when we look at ourselves and we tolerate that we have bad behaviors. And it's not us that's bad inherently. It's the behavior. And when we treat ourselves better, put ourselves in better circumstances, definitely have better behavior. And and that goes for thoughts as well. Don't identify with those negative thoughts. It's a thought. I'm a bad mother. I hurt my child. That can be a really panicky negative thought coming from all kinds of places. But when examined and looked at the truth of what's going on, it's highly unlikely that I'm a bad mother. But maybe I've made some mistakes and I can always make amends. And resilience exists, but it's only practiced. We're only able to be resilient when we can tolerate that we make mistakes. Don't identify with the bad behavior and the bad thoughts. Number 3, find out who you are. What are your values? What makes you sing? What gives you meaning? Sit down. Take some time to find out who you are. Where did your belief systems come in? Why do you like the books that you like? Why do you hang out with the people you hang out with? Are you more of a word person or a science person? Find out about who you are. So often in childhood, we're told we're a good girl, or we're going to be an engineer, or if we don't practice piano, something bad will happen. Or if we don't say the right thing, no one's going to love us. I mean, it gets that extreme, all right? Where did these ideas come from? I don't know. I doubt it came from you. But when you sit down and think, I really like nature. I really like being with Brian because Brian makes me smile and has a good sense of humor. I value laughter. I really nobody's telling me I like laughter. I'm actually thinking about it. Or your values about education, or your values about exercise. It's not that your doctor told you you need to exercise 5 times a week, but actually you feel good about it. Oh, that's the best kind. When you know what you like, you know what you love, and you actually create a narrative of why. And it comes from you, not from external, from something else, from society. When you find out who you are, it really reduces a lot of the tension and the self-hatred. Number 4, a way to combat self-hatred is to introduce rituals in your life, just things that you do because you do them. For example, every spring you trim your rose bushes, or every Saturday you go to the farmer's market and you buy the freshest food you possibly can and cook it for dinner. Or you hold hands with someone that you love before you go to bed for a minute. These kinds of rituals, when you build them into your life and into your day, it's just sort of like this set point of feeling good that you just do it. You don't moralize it, you don't rationalize it, you don't overthink it. You do it. A ritual of taking care of your body with a special type of bath oil. It could be something like that. Or a ritual where you read an inspiring book once a week in order to give you inspiration and joy and wonder. Or the ritual of just calling your friend once a week just because. You don't necessarily have something to say, but it's your ritual. It's something that you do. Rituals really help us to deal with self-hate that can build up during the week, during the year, during the months. Practicing these rituals gives us spaces of self-love, and it's just built in. Okay, and the last reason that gives a person a really good defense against self-hate is self-love. I mean, that's what it's about. I think it was Maya Angelou who said she doesn't trust someone who says that they love them unless they can see that they love themselves. Because where is that love coming from? Learning to love ourselves takes time. Many times it takes time. Few of us are lucky to be born with the knowledge that we're cared for, that we're loved, that we're good enough. Many times that's the journey, to learn that we are enough and that we bring something wonderful and unique to the human experience just for being alive. That's so powerful against self-hate. To stop and think, just for being me, I'm okay, and I'm here, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, when we have rituals, when we know who we are, when we take care of ourselves, when we don't identify with negative behaviors, and when we modulate our inner chatter, we're really able to open up to self-love. And that is totally different than self-hate. Another way, to just bring this self-love abstract idea into, reality is just to think about, how do you treat your loved pets? You feed them, you talk to them, you hug them, you tell them no if they're doing something dangerous for their safety, not to shame them or morally abuse them or abandon them. How do you take care of your pet that you love so dearly? I hope you can do that for yourself, because that's going to go a long, long way against self-hatred. Last conclusion. Ultimately, self-hate needs to be actively challenged. I hope these 5 strategies help you to rediscover the joy and delight in just being you and connecting on a human level. I hope these 5 strategies help you combat self-hate right now. I believe in you. We can do this together. And don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for being here.